You know that feeling when you wake up one morning and realize your entire life has crumbled around you? When everyone's telling you it's too late, you're too old, just accept it and fade away quietly? Yeah, that crushing weight in your chest when you feel like you've missed every opportunity, wasted every chance, and now you're staring at the finish line with nothing but regret and empty hands? Well, let me tell you about Margaret, 70 years old, sitting in a one-bedroom apartment she could barely afford, staring at an eviction notice. Her husband of 45 years had passed 2 years earlier, leaving behind a mountain of medical debt that swallowed their savings whole. Her kids lived across the country, busy with their own lives, calling maybe once a month if she was lucky. The retirement she dreamed of, gone. The golden years everyone talks about, more like rusty broken chains dragging her down into despair. Margaret had worked as a secretary her whole life, never really pursuing her own dreams. She'd always loved baking, you know? As a kid, she'd spend hours in her grandmother's kitchen, learning secret family recipes, creating magic with flour and sugar. But life happened. Marriage, kids, bills, responsibilities. The dreams got shoved into a dusty corner of her heart, labeled someday and then forgotten. But here's where the story gets interesting. That eviction notice, it wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Margaret looked around that tiny apartment, at her grandmother's old recipe book sitting on the kitchen counter, and something inside her just snapped. Not broke, but snapped into place, like a puzzle piece finally finding its home. She took her last $300, bought ingredients, and started baking. Not for herself, but for the homeless shelter down the street. Those cookies, those pies, those dinner rolls that made grown men cry with joy, they became her calling card. Word spread like wildfire through that little town. Margaret's magic touch wasn't just about the food, it was about the love baked right into every bite. The shelter director asked if she'd consider teaching cooking classes to help people get job skills. Then the local community college heard about her and offered her a part-time position. Then a food blogger discovered her story and wrote about this incredible woman who started over at 70 with nothing but determination and a recipe book. 6 months later, Margaret wasn't just paying rent, she was saving money. A year later, she published her grandmother's cookbook with her own story woven through the pages. 2 years later, she opened a small bakery called Second Chances that became the heart of her community. People didn't just come for the pastries, they came for hope. They came to see living proof that it's never too late to start again. But here's what really gets me about Margaret's story. It wasn't just about success or money or proving people wrong. It was honestly about remembering who she really was underneath all those years of playing it safe. She'd spent decades believing her dreams had an expiration date, thinking that certain chapters of life were closed forever once you hit a certain age. The truth is, society kind of programs us to think life has these rigid timelines. Graduate by 22, married by 30, kids by 35, retire by 65, and then what? Just wait around for the end? That's garbage, complete garbage. Your dreams don't have expiration dates, your potential doesn't shrivel up and die just because you've got gray hair and reading glasses. Margaret taught me something profound. She said, "Honey, I spent 70 years thinking my life was happening to me. Turns out I was just waiting for permission to happen to my life." She realized that every single day you wake up breathing is another chance to begin again. Another opportunity to dust off those dreams, crack open that potential, and show the world what you're really made of. Today, at 75, Margaret employs 12 people at her bakery. She mentors other seniors starting new ventures. She proves every single day that the most beautiful chapters of your story might still be unwritten, just waiting for you to have the courage to pick up the pen. Age isn't a limitation, it's just another ingredient in the recipe of an extraordinary life.